one of the first things that came to my mind was how abundance for me is kind of a visceral feeling when I really think about it. It's not so much about what are my possessions and what do I necessarily have and what can I count on 10 fingers, but I really think it's more about when I sit back and reflect on the things going on in my life, what's important to me. It really has everything to do with how I feel, the energy around me. Is it positivity? Is it negativity? And so if I were to bring it all back to what does abundance mean to me, it's the feeling of just being content and happy with what I've been given more than maybe what I've earned, so to speak.
Welcome to the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. Your guide on this journey is Amy Sylvis, ready to unlock the keys to a life of true abundance. We're diving into everything from financial freedom and optimal health to meaningful relationships, geographic freedom, and everything in between. It's about creating a life rich in experiences, purpose, and joy. Get ready for empowering conversations, expert insights, and real-life stories that inspire you to live abundantly. If you're ready for the secrets to an abundant life, hit that subscribe button now, and let's get started.
Secrets to Abundant Living podcast community. I've got a big smile on my face today because I've got a really, really special guest. But first, if you don't know who I am, my name is Amy Sylvis. I'm the founder and CEO of Sylvis Capital, and we connect folks to hands-off real estate investment opportunities. And I feel like my hair color is always changing on video, but I'm not really a brunette. I'm still a fake redhead. But this video, I'm in a new house and things look a little bit different. But enough about me. I am so excited to welcome my dear friend Joel Landon to the podcast today. I've known him for, I want to say, we were just talking about how fast time is flying. Probably 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I'd say going on 4 years.
Oh my goodness. But, we've done all sorts of podcasts, webinars, all sorts of things together. And I thought, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize I hadn't had him on the podcast before. We've worked together, but we're really aligned in terms of how we view the world, how we view relationships and all the good things. So without further ado, welcome Joel to the podcast.
No, I'm so happy to be here again, Amy. Grateful for the listener to take some time out of their day to hear me and share a few things about myself, what, might be able to help them regarding the business that I'm a part of, and just excited overall.
I think you and I are so aligned with this concept of abundance. We were just talking about the title of the podcast, and, in today's day and age, maybe more or less so than any other time in history, bringing light, bringing encouragement, bringing positivity. I think everyone needs as much of that as possible. And you've always just been such a joy. I know a bit about your personal story. And so I'd love to hear a bit more about, a little bit more about you. Maybe you can weave in kind of what abundance means to you, because I know that's driven quite a bit of your life, if memory serves.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to give the listener a little bit more of an idea of, who I am as a human being.
Yeah.
So I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. I've spent most of my life living in Utah. I was born originally in Southern California, in San Dimas, California, close to, where we're located. But, I'm a father of 4 daughters. My oldest is almost 18, which is really, really hard to believe. And my youngest is 8. So I've got a good mix in there, and they're certainly everything to me, and I've been married now to my wife for about 20 years. And I have the fortune of working in an industry that I truly enjoy, and how I got to the industry that I'm in today is kind of a fun and cool story. But I work in the self-directed or alternative asset investing industry. So I work with investors and, individuals who offer up alternative assets to their investors. And it's just been a fantastic journey. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that.
Yeah.
You asked a really powerful question, which is, what does abundance mean to me? And I was really pondering that this morning and had a few thoughts. One of the first things that came to my mind was how abundance for me is kind of a visceral feeling. It's not so much a calculation of everything that I have in my life. And it might look a little different from some of the others that have been on your show, or even some folks that are listening today. But for me, it's really a visceral type of feeling when I really think about it. And, it's like I said, it's not so much about what are my possessions and what do I necessarily have and what can I count on 10 fingers. But I really think it's more about when I sit back and reflect on the things going on in my life, what's important to me? Is it family? Is it my work? Is it, my possessions? Is it my truck in the driveway? For me, it really has everything to do with how I feel, the energy around me. Is it positivity? Is it negativity? And so if I were to bring it all back to, what does abundance mean to me? It's the feeling of, just being content and happy with what I've been given more than, maybe what I've earned, so to speak, if that makes any sense.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that definitely does. Wow. Tony Robbins, I think, talks about, I may misquote this, but to find that kind of enjoyment, that happiness in life, it's often if we're not feeling happy or content, it's the difference between kind of our expectations versus what's going on in our life or our reality. So just that contentment with what you've been given. I don't think I've had anyone say that here, but that is so profound. Can we pull on that thread just a little bit more?
Yes, thank you for kind of, sharing those thoughts because it validates kind of what I'm feeling or what I'm trying to say, which,
Yeah.
it truly is just, I've sat back in my life. I'm 40 right now. This year I'm 40. And earlier in my life, I thought that abundance was possessions. I thought that it was what do I have and what can I count? What are my assets? And again, this
Mm.
could look really different for somebody else
Yeah.
down the street or, on the show. But for me, it's less about the possessions and more about whatever it is that I have, does it make me feel good? And, there have been things in my life that I've had to get rid of, so to speak,
Mm.
you know, to try and live a more abundant lifestyle.
Yeah.
And, I'll just give an example for the sake of it, but early in my early 30s, I thought that I needed to have a really nice vehicle. I really thought that living an abundant lifestyle was having possessions. And
Yeah.
I had a really nice vehicle. I felt like I was living this abundant lifestyle, like I've got it, and I have more than my needs, and I feel really good about it. But in all reality, it didn't fill a cup, my own cup. It didn't fill this void in my cup that I knew I had.
Yeah.
So it was frustrating for me. I started to feel frustrated about why is it that I don't feel full or that I'm living this abundant lifestyle when I have all of these possessions,
Yeah.
the car being one of them. And then I started recognizing after just peeling back the onion and talking with my wife and being like, in a way, like supported by my wife. She's leagues ahead of me. And, she kind of helped me break it down. And ultimately I realized that those things are not what bring abundance in my life. They aren't a demonstration of an abundant lifestyle. And so it really helped ground me and
Yeah.
start recognizing more and more, what are the things that I want in my life that make me feel abundant? And I actually narrowed it down to three things that I put down on my note taker here. It was first my family, and then, how well is my relationship with myself, to be honest. So what does my relationship look like with my family? What does my relationship look like with myself? And then what does my relationship look like with my higher power?
Yep.
Some people might call it God or,
Mhm.
the
Yep.
spirit or whatever that is for
Yeah.
them. What is my relationship with my higher power? So I started focusing in on those three things more. And I've had to restructure things, maybe reprioritize. And it's like this constant thing, maybe I prioritize one a little bit more than the other when I should have an equal balance.
Yeah.
So I'll just say, that's kind of now that I'm 40 years old and I look back on, my early 30s, my late 20s, I cringe a little bit about some of the things that I did or didn't do, or some of the philosophy or like thought process that I had about what an abundance lifestyle was. And I fortunately look back and think, "Phew, I'm glad I'm here today. And I'm hoping that I'll in 10 years be even further along." So, anyways, that's kind of how I would break it down if I had the chance.
I love it. Well, and it's so funny that you say you kind of look back and how much you've grown. I mean, hopefully all of us have grown, right? Hopefully
Totally.
all of us, I'm almost 45. I am hoping that I'm not thinking the same things, valuing the same things as I did when I was 25. I mean, some things are tried and true, right? There's some wisdom, there's some beliefs, so I'm not saying, oh my gosh, you do a full 180 and let go of
Right.
everything, but hopefully we are testing and reevaluating and growing it in that sense. And gosh, I mean, I don't know who could argue with your three kind of values there of your relationship with your family, yourself, and your God or your higher power. To have to juxtapose that to what culture tells us day in and day out, no matter where we turn, on the internet, on TV, on social media, maybe friends, there's
Totally.
just so much out there that is steering you in the complete opposite direction. And I don't know if it's my age or if it's just 2026 in general or what's happening, but I'm talking to more and more people, or maybe I'm overly exposed because I intentionally have these
Oh,
conversations
that's true.
on the
Yeah.
podcast. But it does seem like there are a lot of people, thankfully, that are challenging this notion of, I've been told since I was young that the car, like you said, the money, the flash, all these things would make me happy. And now I've climbed that mountain and looking around and going, wait, what? I was sold a bill of goods. This isn't it. I'm having to relearn and retool and restructure. So that was a long monologue, but I just really resonate with what you're saying. It's really powerful.
I love that, Amy. When you were talking, it made me think of something that I saw the other day on LinkedIn. I'm not on LinkedIn enough. I know I should be, but it's like I was there and I was looking at the feed and I saw a post by somebody. His name is Ted Jenkins.
Mm,
He's a part of a company based out of Georgia. He's an AA for a family
yes.
office, but he's got a podcast show and it's really cool. And he said he started breaking down like, tell me you're broke in 2026 without telling me you're broke. And he listed a lot of things and it tied back to what you said about like competing priorities. There's so much out there. And to your point, you're probably exposed to a lot of it because of some of the work that you do.
Yeah.
There are so many competing priorities out there that I can't blame myself and I can't blame my neighbor for being pulled back and forth and, maybe even feeling a bit confused about, what is my priority and
Yeah.
how do I live up to an abundant lifestyle? Because I do think we're here on earth, whether you believe in a higher power or not, we're here on earth to ultimately like achieve an abundant lifestyle. At least I would hope so. I do hope that's and that I'm not proven wrong someday, but I really think that, there's so many competing priorities that are trying to derail us from this abundant lifestyle. And
Yeah.
I will say, you know, a lot of folks in my experience, the conversations that I've had, in fact, we've got this thing that we do. We have a fire pit in our backyard,
Ooh.
and we invite our neighbors to come over to in the evening to just sit around the fire. It's kind of this thing that my wife and family are like really into right now. And so we send a group text out and people show up and we just start there's something about the fire. There's something about the end of the day that like
Yeah.
people just start talking and I think it's in those moments that, not for everybody, but, you could really potentially flesh out the confusion, the pull, the push and the pull on these priorities that I'm talking about, right? Because it's challenging, like families, individuals, husbands, wives, children, they're all friends. They're all, not suffering, but kind of experiencing, that's the better word,
Yeah.
experiencing the same thing of this
Mm,
push and pull and trying to find out what's my path to lead to an abundant lifestyle. And so having those moments together around the fire has helped us actually pull that out. And it's
yes.
like, we're not going into it with an objective, but somehow we get down this line where we're talking about life and, the pursuit of this abundant lifestyle.
It's almost as if we were designed to be in community with other people. It's
Yeah,
almost as
exactly.
if that's the whole thing. And
Yeah,
anyone who's followed my story, and I probably have, beat you over the head with it too, Joel, over social media and things that you've read about my story is, gosh, did I stumble upon that by accident myself too? Living with a chronic illness, there was no one who could do breathing treatments for me, show up to doctor's visits for me, exercise for me, or, all of these things I had always to do on my own. So when it came to my career, personal development, I used that same mindset of just like, okay, well, I guess it's on me to figure this out and do this and do that. And once I figured out that kind of code, whether it's in business or personal life of, oh, I'm not meant to do this alone. Maybe there are some things only I can do, but it's within a greater context of community. Even if it's not like-minded people, trading ideas, being around each other to support, we all have more in common than I believe. We all have more in common than we have different. So I just love that visual of you creating a community, a space for people to just be themselves, it sounds like, and talk through, whether it's something light or maybe it's something as big as what does abundance look like in your life?
Yeah.
And, how are you cultivating that? That's incredible. I'm really inspired by that.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you even sharing your personal experiences, and it's so good to get that out and
Mm,
hear you validate the community aspect. And I was just gonna, finish by this thought about at the end of the day, I'm pretty drained. Like I'm talking to people all day. And then of course I'm trying to spend at 4 o'clock, my kids are home, I'm talking to them. At the end of the day, I'm drained.
yeah.
And my wife is kind of an introvert and she's kind of a hermit.
Yeah.
But, you know, going into that fire scenario, not every night, but we do it frequently. You don't even have to go into it with an objective. So
Mm,
I don't want anybody to think that like you have to force it.
nope.
If you're if you're listening and you're looking for that pathway towards an abundant lifestyle and, you can really accelerate that through community, why not try something, even if it's maybe seemingly outside of your comfort zone, it will organically like a flower blossom. Like you
Yes.
don't even really have to force it. It just kind of just like a wildflower in your front lawn. You see it one morning and you're like, "Oh my gosh, where did that come from?" Like I didn't throw a seed in there. I didn't
Yeah.
water, I didn't do anything, but
Yeah.
organically it'll tend to bloom even if it's a little, outside of your comfort zone, if that makes sense.
Oh, completely, completely. Though, yeah, keeping it organic, keeping it natural, and just trusting that the process will lead where it leads. And maybe where it leads is you got a new friend and you share a hobby, or maybe the
Right.
process is someone's giving you and speaking into your life some perspective that you hadn't thought of that is a game changer. You just don't know, but kind of removing that expectation of just we're just people doing people things, spending time together. I like
Yeah.
that because that really takes the pressure off of. Right, because how many other things in our life do we have to do with intention and have the goal and make the steps towards the goal? So if you're creating that space where it's just like, hey, this is just the goal is to spend time. That's it, wherever that leads. Again, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but I'm just imagining being at this and what that feels like.
Holiday, yeah,
It seems great.
for sure.
Joel, I'd love to talk a little bit because we talk on this podcast about abundance and these relationships and spending time and giving back and all of these things which are incredible. We cannot live without money. Money is part of the game. And while it may not be the destination, and I think that's the mindset shift that a lot of us have gone through of, oh, we thought money was the destination, but really it's the vehicle, or it can be a vehicle to some of these things, depending on how you earn it and all those good things. I'd love to talk a little bit more about what you do for a living because I'm going to be candid with everyone in the audience. I didn't even know this existed probably 7 years ago. And I love giving space for people to learn about the industry that you're in because it was a game changer for me. It was a game changer for my family. And it might be for people that listen here too. So it's a little bit of a hard pivot, but it still is within this space, I think, of cultivating abundance. Have you ever thought about having multiple streams of income? Instead of relying on just one stream of income where you're trading your time for money, how would you like to free up more of your time and live a more abundant life? As a listener of the show, you're invited to attend one of our upcoming trainings where I'll give you an inside look into how you can add passive income and get all the other perks of recession resistant real estate investing without the headaches of being a landlord. I'll also be sharing some hidden mistakes to avoid and the criteria I personally look for when evaluating potential investment opportunities. To reserve your seat for free, go to sylviscapital.com/webinar. Again, that special link to reserve your seat for free is sylviscapital.com/webinar. I look forward to seeing you on the training. And now back to the show.
I fully agree with you, and I'll flesh this out, during this conversation, but I've watched individuals now for about the last 8 years in some way, shape, or form, share with me how they've reached an abundant lifestyle through resources like this. You mentioned the industry that I work in, and I'll
Yeah.
break it down here. So it is in fact very relative to what we're talking about. But the industry that I'm a part of, for those hearing this, for the first time, is what we like to call the self-directed IRA industry. Some of you listening today have either heard of it, maybe you use a self-directed
Mhm.
IRA, maybe this is brand new to you, but the self-directed IRA is more of an industry. And the concept is that, individuals are using an IRA to invest in an alternative way, or an alternative asset class, to be more specific. I'll paint a picture where most folks, and in fact, just general mainstream media, encourage people to have an IRA and set aside money via contributions and have it invested in the stock market for growth to contribute to your abundant lifestyle. That's very, very atypical, right? And very, very normal. However, there's a growing interest in alternative assets. So you've got Wall Street, which is obviously commonly known as the public markets.
Mhm.
It's where you can find your Nvidia or your Google, your Tesla stock, all, very beneficial and profitable investments, if you will, if you want to just bundle it into that term. And people have made a lot of money investing in those types of assets.
Oh, yeah.
But what's becoming more popular is this alternative asset space, which, Amy, you're a part of. You're in real estate, and I'm sure a lot of listeners today have either dabbled or they've been successful in real estate investing. And so the concept, to kind of come back to the beginning here, is we, in my profession, we help individuals use their IRA to invest in these alternative type of assets. And the list of alternative assets is growing.
Yeah.
But even like the popularity, real estate is the moneymaker. That's a tried and true asset class. And of course, real estate has its variety. You have commercial office space on one end, all the way over to like real estate notes or like land development notes.
Yeah.
So the variety of real estate is pretty large. And our clients are using their IRAs to invest in those assets because they either believe in the asset class, right? Maybe they've invested in real estate personally, but now they want to do that with their IRA. Or they could just be looking for general diversification. Most of their IRA's been tied into Wall Street,
Yep.
great returns, depending on the year that you start to distribute, or like, the era in which you live. But folks are starting to branch out and be more interested in, okay, I've got my securities on Wall Street, but I'm kind of interested in these alternatives like real estate notes and real estate syndications. And then it starts to branch out even more. And oh my gosh, I'm curious about oil and gas, or I'm curious about Bitcoin, precious
Yep.
metals, and so on and so forth. That's the world that I live in. That's what I've been a part of for the last 8 years. And I've had so much experiences with folks, some of which I've been introduced to by you, or they're certainly not, what's the right word? You're not having any financial gain by
Mm,
sending them to me, but like
fine.
you've introduced these individuals to me, and they've been, great relationships. And those individuals have actually, fulfilled some of that abundant lifestyle that they're looking for. But I'll pause right there because I know that was a lot to spit out there.
It's great. No, it's so exciting. And it's hard not to be really passionate about this because I think, and you see it first, we both see it from slightly different angles in terms of what we do professionally. But I think we both agree how empowering it is to give folks an option. Because I think most of us go to school, we're taught in school, contribute to your 401k, contribute to retirement. You get your first big boy or big girl job, you enroll in your 401k, and you have these automatic kind of contributions, once a month, every 2 weeks. And your choices are stocks, bonds, mutual funds. Again, nothing wrong with those whatsoever. I think Joel and I would both agree there's nothing wrong with that. But the fact that it's almost, I don't want to say hidden, I don't want to be that kind of conspiratorial minded, but the fact that people aren't told that they can invest in a whole host of other asset classes, I don't think is in people's best interest. I'm not saying they should invest, but just having the option is so incredible. I've seen it firsthand. I know you've seen it firsthand. And the first step to all of this is knowing that it's possible, is
Right.
knowing like people like Joel exist at Heritage IRA and understanding that it's within your purview to explore and decide with the trusted people in your life if it's a good fit for you. So I just love that you make that possible for people.
Yeah, same. It's so fun. I appreciate you kind of sharing your perspective because it was really, you highlighted so many important parts that you've seen on your end of the field, if you will.
Yeah.
And, I had a conversation with the gal yesterday. Her name was Lynette. She's actually here in Utah as well. She's not too far from where I live, but she got introduced to us and she's in her 40s. She was a nurse practitioner
Yeah.
and she left that industry and got into real estate. She really found her niche at this point in her life, and she's been a really successful investor. She explained how she, had a townhome that she was able to move out of and then rent that property while she, moved into a different home, a larger
Yeah.
home. She had a short-term rental as well, apart from the townhome. She was doing some house hacking as well with the current home that she lived in. So she was really explaining this cool journey that she's been on. And she overheard from a real estate syndicator that and it was at like a RIA event, that
Hmm.
this idea of using an IRA blew her mind, right? The gal Lynette, so we get in touch, she's sharing her experiences, and then she's like, and then I heard that I could use my IRA. Walk me through that. So I gave her, the whole spiel. I kind of talked about how that works, how it's, within IRS rules, et cetera. Just
Yeah.
fleshed it all out operationally and compliance wise. And she felt really, really good about it. And then she says, gosh, I've got $150,000 in a 401k from my old employer. So she started putting the pieces together. And you could see during the conversation, she started recognizing that there was opportunity. And I think that going back to what you said, she saw right away, I know where my performance is today with my 401k. I see it every year on my statement.
Yeah.
And she started connecting the dots with like real estate and the performance that she knew she could achieve with equity and cash flow and so on and so forth. And so of course the conversation is like, Joel, I got to go to a meeting, send me some more information. Within a couple of hours, I start getting texts from her, just more questions, like, so I think to just kind of circle back to what you said, it was perfectly stated. Lynette became aware of her opportunities, and I love seeing that more than anything, as I'm sure you do.
Oh, it's so empowering. I have countless stories like that I've heard from folks too. Obviously, I'm in real estate. Most of the people I know invest in real estate, but I know folks that just they're big believers in gold and silver bullion. They want the actual stuff and they want that diversification within their retirement account. And, we can go into ETFs and the difference between having a paper representation of gold and silver versus the physical. But the bottom line is diversification can provide some people great peace of mind. And Joel and I aren't going to tell anyone how to invest. That's not this. It's simply educating around options and helping people achieve their goals. And for some people, it is a peace of mind to diversification. Some people, they just like certain asset classes. They find it interesting. They find it exciting. I mean, there's just a whole host of reasons why, but the goal is you can't do it unless you're aware. And then partnering with someone like Joel that can really, and I've seen this firsthand with my investors, that can really hold your hand, answer your questions, and make sure you feel really safe and secure that you're doing this right, that you're, because the IRS has a couple rules and regulations. So, and if you partner with someone that does this full time and knows how to do it correctly, then you can breathe a sigh of relief of, okay, I'm achieving my goals and I know I'm being compliant and I'm doing it the right way. And I think that that's just tremendous to find a custodian, because that's what it's called when you decide
Yeah.
to do this, a custodian that can really hold your hand through that. And Joel does an amazing job.
Yeah, for sure. Do I have time to share one more story?
Of course, please.
So this one is kind of cool, and I hope it, resonates and lands well, but helping a gal over the last couple of weeks by the name of Marianne. She's out of Washington and she is retired, so she's like in her 60s. You could hear from her, this was her first time. She
Mm,
needed hand holding.
yeah.
But what was really cool, and by first time, I should actually clarify that it was her first time using a self-directed IRA to invest in a business.
Nice.
and use a self-directed IRA to invest in precious metals. And when you brought up precious metals, that's what made me think of Marianne.
Yeah.
Had a significant amount of metals. She believed in it when she bought it, and she bought it at a really low rate. Obviously, metals has increased in value, so she saw a significant opportunity to liquidate that metal and place it into a small business. And
Nice.
it's actually like it's a pizza business of all things.
Fun.
And it's a business, it's a pizza franchise, but she believed in it, the business model, as well as the people running it. And so for Marianne, just to summarize, she retired from her, employment, moved some of her retirement into precious metals, gold specifically, and we were able to help her move it and liquidate it because she wanted to then use that money to invest in this pizza business. And we facilitated the whole thing. I used this term actually yesterday, but it's like we almost acted like the title company in a real estate transaction. We were
Ah,
that middleman that helped facilitate all of that movement in accordance with IRS rules, which there are rules we have to follow. So
yeah.
we did all of that for her, and she spent like 45 minutes on the phone when it was all said and done talking about the pizza business. She sent me the contact information of the person that she trusts and knows and the operators, and I just thought, wow, it's really cool to see, someone who's in her 60s
Yeah.
go through that evolution, and she's invested in an option that she really believes in.
And that's abundance in your job, is helping
Yeah,
people get to their goals and maybe
totally
helping them achieve something they would have never been able to do if they didn't know or get your help to be able to do that.
love that.
Incredibly satisfying. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Oh my gosh. So, Joel, just to kind of put a bow on this, my understanding is people can use 401ks to roll over to self-directed IRAs or solo 401ks from previous employers. Is that right?
Absolutely. So we like to refer to it as qualified money. We could
Okay.
help you either transfer or roll over qualified funds. And there's a laundry list of a 401k, IRAs, TSPs, even some pensions. There are folks that have pensions, like a state pension. We've been able to help them move that into an IRA without creating what's called a taxable event or
Yep.
like a distribution. We want to avoid that at all costs because we
Yeah.
can't hold non-qualified money in our IRAs. So
Yep.
like we work delicately to move that as a direct transfer or direct rollover. So most of the funds that we roll over are usually from a 401k because most people contribute to a 401k.
Yeah.
If you've got like a 403b or 401a, some of the other tax codes, totally fine. We can move that over. But it's a really seamless process. And we do all of the heavy lifting for the client. I'll be upfront. That's how we make our money. The fees aren't really big. They're very upfront. So the
Yeah.
individual's going to know like, okay, I'm going to be charged a flat rate. Like Lynette yesterday, tell me what my fees are. How much are you going to charge me? It's really straightforward. It's A, B, and C. It's upfront. And she liked that. So yeah, we could roll over all of those types of qualified funds. And of course, we have clients that make contributions as well. They like to
Yeah.
lower their taxable burden. So every year they make contributions.
I'm so grateful you mentioned without creating a taxable event or penalty, because I have had some people say, "Oh, are you talking about withdrawing from my retirement account
Oh,
early and then investing?" No, 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 no. No,
yeah, we don't
quite
want
the
that at all.
opposite. Yeah, yeah, quite the opposite. I mean, until it's time, right? There's a time and a place, but this entire process is staying within the retirement account without, yeah, doing that traditional kind of withdrawal that we think about at 65, 67, 70 type of thing. It's before that and within that process. I cannot believe how fast this recording has gone, Joel. It's been so incredible to get to know more about you, how you talk about abundance, how that it shows up in your life, not just in your personal life, but with others, and of course your career. And I really appreciate you sharing the really amazing stuff that you do over at Heritage IRA. I'm sure folks are going to want to get in touch with you. What's the best way that they can reach out?
Easiest is you can go to our website, heritageira.com. You could email me, joel@heritageira.com. And we have just started spinning up some social media. So we have a gal that runs that now. You could find us on socials now, TikTok,
Fun.
Facebook, Instagram. Our company name is Heritage IRA.
Joel's going to be doing some TikTok dances by the fire pit on
I hope
TikTok,
not.
so make sure
I
you
hope not.
tune.
My daughters would not allow that. They would not allow that.
Sorry, I just had to throw that in there. We gotta
Appreciate
have
it.
some laughs every once in a while. Joel, thank you so much. I would encourage everyone to definitely reach out to Joel. As he mentioned, I get no benefit out of referring over to him. I just like good people to know good people. My investors have had an incredible experience with him. So obviously highlighting and platforming what he does, but also getting to know him more as a person. We all love building relationships and getting to know good people, and Joel's one of them. So thank you, friend, again for spending time with us today.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. And if y'all are like me and you're doing dishes, laundry, driving while listening to the podcast, I will put Joel's contact information in the show notes so you can make sure to refer back to that. And thank you all for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights that will empower you on your journey towards abundance. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback means the world to us, and it helps others discover the secrets to an abundant life too. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn, Amy Sylvis. Keep striving for your goals, nurturing your relationships, and embracing the adventure that is life. Until next time, we wish you an abundantly fulfilling day.